I have a very special guest today. I am here with David, aka Nurse Janx. Make sure that you check out his YouTube channel. Also, has some great information. David, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm David. I go by Nurse Janx, also now Nurse Tasks. That's a new company that I'm starting, so it's great to be here. I know I met Bridget in the comments of a YouTube video, I think about the Pearson view trick. Is that right?
Yes.
I was watching your video. I liked it. And then I noticed, I feel like there were some screenshots that look familiar. I was like, is that? Like
Yeah,
they're-
so full disclosure, he I used some information from his video. He had talked about how the Pearson, and I got inspiration from your
yeah,
video for me to do the Pearson view trick.
I've
And
done a
then
lot of those.
there was there was a part where you talk about how like 88% of it, the bad pop-up is 88% accurate or something like that. And that I feel like that's where I grabbed some of your information. I told my mom I was going live with you today, and I was like, "Yeah, I used some of his information from one of his videos." She's like, "Oh my god, how embarrassing!" I was
No,
like,
it's good. I like to see that. It makes it more legitimate. I mean, I think that's something I've been trying to do because it's always been just story based as far as like does this thing work or not? And you see these Google search trends all the time. And so I was like, I'm gonna be the guy who gets the data on this and try to figure it out for everybody to be the trusted resource. Because I'm sure, when everyone takes this test for the next few days, you're gonna be super anxious and just want to know. So I mean,
yeah,
yeah, the good pop-up works.
it does work. The bad pop-up,
That's not as reliable.
not always, not 100%.
Like
Um,
2/3.
yeah, but I love data. I love analytics. So anytime that we have some quantitative data, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I am going to share. So the reason why I have David on today is because he recently launched his very own app. How exciting. So tell us about this application that you launched.
All right. So this app is a specialized to-do list app for nurses, and we all know how busy you can get as a nurse on any kind of floor, specifically med surg. But essentially, your EMRs at work are going to keep track of some things like your medicines and some of the other tasks as well. They'll prompt you for it. But there's a lot of tasks that go under the radar. Things like I need to turn my patient, I need to go get a blood glucose on my patient, I need to do my rounds on this patient, I need to just reassess them. I need to take them to the bathroom, things like that. And so throughout the shift, even as a seasoned nurse, occasionally you'll think of something where you just wish you got to that a little quicker. And it's just because you have so many things going on in your head. And if nothing's really notifying you, something can get missed. Now, there's all sorts of generalized to-do list apps out there, but this one is just built specifically for nurses. So it goes the best with the nursing workflow. And just kind of looking at the screenshot here, you can just kind of get a gist of what the app looks like. Essentially, you'll have your patients organized into cards on the home screen, and you can get a view of their upcoming next 3 tasks. And then when you click on that card, it will open up the full list of tasks associated with that patient. We also have templates to help quickly add tasks for every patient, because I know time is important as a nurse. So depending on what kind of floor you're on, we have a template for it. So we have a med surg template, an ICU template, trauma step down template, things like that. And of course, you can customize these templates too. This is just something to help you get started quickly. So when you try to add a new patient, you can quickly click everything on the template if you want to, and just put 10 tasks in at once instead of having to manually enter every single task, because of course that would be kind of a pain. Of course, we always keep track of on-time tasks as well, so you guys can try to make sure that you get better over time. And really, we're thinking this is going to be great for nursing students and new grad nurses, but of course, any nurse could benefit from an app that just makes sure that they don't forget stuff.
This is phenomenal. I kind of made my own ghetto version, but like a paper version
Right.
when I was a nurse, because and I talk about I have ADHD, so I need to write things down in order for
Mhm.
me not to forget. And this is great. So I see here, for example, like blood glucose rounds. Are there things, what else? Like what other tasks are, I mean, you can add things manually, but for example, on a
Mhm.
med surg floor, we have to do like Braden Morse, IPOC. Maybe can you add meds that are due,
You
or does
could,
it?
yeah. I mean, I think a lot of EMRs are decent with meds specifically,
Mhm.
but for anything that's really not going to be triggered by another system, this is a great step in. And we also have nursing report sheets. That's actually kind of probably version 1 of this app. So
Mhm.
we make all sorts of SBAR sheets and brains, and those are pretty popular on Google. that's something we've been doing with Nurse Janx for the longest time. Yeah, you can click that, and there's 10 of them, and you might have seen these sometimes floating around.
Mhm.
I know they were pretty popular. So these are free if anybody wants to download these. There's 10 different templates, and you can just quickly write everything out for the patient. But the only thing this can't do is send a push notification to your phone to tell you something's coming up.
Perfect. Yes.
But yeah, they complement each other pretty well. It's a lot of organizational based productivity tools, essentially.
And organization is time management in
Yeah,
general is so important when you're a nurse.
this is the
Hi,
first thing
Mr.
I always tell
Midwife. Let me add Mr. Midwife, his comment. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining, Mr. Midwife. Miss our lives. He's gone live with me before.
Yeah, I've seen.
Um, so yeah, I mean, this is just some great. So make sure you check out nursetasks.com, and there's excellent nurse report sheets that are free that you can download. HNPs, very interesting. Anything else that you wanted to discuss with the app that, oh, and you said that if people download it in the future, you may add like a different versions of it. So if people
Right.
download it right now, they're getting the full version, correct?
Yeah, so right now we built the MVP, which is kind of called like the minimum viable product, which is just to get your app out there to make sure that the market wants to receive it. So we've built this out for iOS and Android right now, and it's not restricted in any way. So pretty much all of the features that we've built are available for free. And anybody who downloads it right now before we release a free version and a pro version will get grandfathered into the pro version.
Excellent. I'm definitely going to download this. And I feel, especially also for students, I used to teach at a university, and they are, their head is going in a
Yeah,
million directions. They don't know what to prioritize. They don't know
right.
what to do. So this would help them organize everything and have it readily available, so they're not running around like a chicken with their head cut off.
Exactly. Yeah, time
Mhm.
management's tricky to get and it takes years. I mean, even seasoned nurses could sometimes benefit. I know some people struggle to really ever get that task down. So, but yeah, nursing students and new grads for sure. And we also have like a color coded system. I don't know if you can see in the screenshot, but if a task is overdue, it's notified in red. If it's upcoming within 30 minutes, it's considered yellow. And if it's green, that means it's pretty much after 30 minutes. So you can kind of ignore based on colors too, just to try to help you prioritize things.
Oh, that's really neat. I see the colors here.
Yeah, and those are just so the rings themselves kind of signify like how many do you have left. So once they're green and they're closed, that means you're done with that patient.
Mhm.
There's no upcoming tasks. If they're red, that means you have at least 50% to go. If it's yellow, that means you've got less than 50.
And then are you able to add also notifications for, I know you said like the EMAR or the MAR, but
Yeah.
the MAR that I used to use
Everyone's different. Yeah.
doesn't give you notifications for like time critical meds. So yes, they're
Yeah,
on
you could.
there,
Hmm.
but you are able to manually add kind of like an alarm with the
Yeah.
app, like,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
I have a
Yeah,
time
so the way
critical.
you enter a task is you'll essentially give it a name, you'll give it a repeat duration if you want to, and then you'll give it a due time. So if it's something that's just going to come up once, you can say, I want to start the time at, let's say, 8 o'clock tonight. That'll be the one time that it alarms. If I want this to go off every 2 hours, I'll say I want it to repeat every two. So it'll start at 8 and then it'll go 10, midnight, carry over into the next shift. And we also make sure that we know what your shift is so that you're not just sending you alarms all throughout the next day when you're on vacation or something. Like it's going to stop like when your shift stops. So it's smart. Oh, I actually left off one other feature, which is pretty handy. We have a patient recovery feature, which is neat. So when you're done for a shift, let's say you're working 3 back-to-back shifts, because I know that happens a lot. If you have a lot of the same patients, what you can do is you can reset essentially everything that you had from the last shift, bring it all back and clear it all and reset it. So now you have a fresh to-do list for the day.
That's an
And that's
amazing
going to be
feature.
a big time saver.
Yep, that's an amazing time feature because when you have it on paper, you have to essentially copy
Redo it.
everything, redo everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Is there anywhere on the app, for example, to maybe like take notes or not yet, like for labs or, anything you want to talk to the physician about or anything
So
you can
for
do for
those,
human?
I feel like, yeah, the paper seems to work best for that kind of stuff.
Mhm,
We don't really have something to write. I mean, you could put a note to talk to the doctor at a specific
mhm.
time if you wanted to do something like that, but no huge area to really write notes. More
Okay.
just kind of like to-dos.
Awesome. Awesome. Very, very, very interesting. So, what inspired you to create this app?
My wife actually came up with it. I was always looking for an app idea. I feel like for as long as I can remember, I'm always like, I need to figure out like a good app idea and make an app, because I mean that's just like the coolest thing to think of. It's like I have an app, but I've never been able to think of like a good one that I feel like had legs. And then she's like, "What about like a to-do list app for nurses?" And I was like, that's got to exist. So of course, you Google it and you're trying to find like existing competitors and stuff like that, doing your research. And I mean, there are a few things out there, but we weren't really impressed with them. I don't think they were very well done. And one of them's super expensive too. So uh, definitely thought there was a good use case for this. I mean, there's 3 million nurses in the US alone, I think.
Mhm.
And if you can give them a tool that's specialized, and a good example of this is NurseGrid. Have you heard of them before?
Believe so. I
So
don't
they're
use them.
a popular calendar app that was specified for nurses. So you would think like, how could a calendar app like succeed that's built for nurses? But it did. It
Mhm.
actually got acquired by HealthStream, and um, I mean, that was a monster thing. But they competed against Google, Apple, like all the built-in calendar apps, and they managed to succeed. I think they have like 1 million users or something like that. So
Mhm.
like, well, a specialized app of any kind for a big enough audience could work, and we decided to go for it. So
Yeah,
early
I
stages.
mean,
I
the
mean,
app
early
looks
again.
great.
Yeah, I know the guys who developed it did a great job. I was pretty much the guy who came up with the plan of like what do the screens look like, and actually, based on just my experience, I was doing the UI for the most part, working with one of their people as well, to kind of make up all the wireframes and just the imaging. But the way that it functions too, the actual code, not so much. That's tricky stuff.
And that's an important point that you make is sometimes we'll have great ideas. I, for example, will have an idea, but I'm like, well, how do I implement this? Like, I don't.
That's the hardest part. Yeah. I know people come
So
up with ideas all the time, but
you,
implementing is the hardest
it's
thing.
important to know that you don't have to do it all yourself. You don't
Right.
have to, if you're watching this and you're interested, you think you have an idea, you can outsource some aspects of it. And yes, finances can be an obstacle, but can you so Nurse Janx or David, we were talking before we went live that he did meet with an app developer, and you can outsource. There's sites like Fiverr, there's sites like Upwork where you can find app developers and you can meet with them. They are rated. It is going to cost you money, but a significantly less amount than in the US. How long did it take you from idea to actually launching this?
So initially, we were estimating it was going to be 2 to 3 months. It ended up being just shy of 4 months, I believe, just because we ended up building out a little bit more than an MVP, I believe. There were some features that we were going to leave out, but we're like, let's just do it. So we just got a little carried away, I think. But so 4 months essentially from start to finish to launch.
That's still a very short amount of
Yeah, I mean,
time.
it was yeah, it was good. And we ended up going the overseas route. So our developers are based in India, but I think India and Ukraine are actually some of the highest rated countries for like outsourcing development for mobile and web.
Hmm,
You'll see a lot
very
of developers, I
interesting.
think, from those locations on Fiverr and Upwork.
Thank you, LP. She said, "This lady is so real. Love you, Bridget. Keep being you, boo." Thank you. It's so nice to get a nice comment. Sometimes I get some mean ones.
Do you really?
Yeah. More on like not lives, but like the
Okay, like a
normal ones.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People can be brutal.
yeah, they can.
Okay, so you met with an app developer. What advice would you give to people that are interested? Well, my mind is going like a million directions. My one thought is like people that are unhappy in their current profession as like NPs, and
Right,
what are some other avenues, that other career choices that they can have, because you have a, we don't have to talk about your specific job. I don't
yeah, I
want to
have
talk about
several.
my specific company, but
Right,
just that there are maybe some inspiring words about you don't have to work a 9 to 5 in an office. And
yeah.
then also, if someone is interested in being a entrepreneur or a nursepreneur, what advice you have for them?
I'd probably say try to start with where you have a hobby or some interest or passion outside of nursing, and but also an area where you feel like you have some sort of competitive advantage or a lot of education on that specific area, something where you feel like you could give value to people, that would be a perfect area to try to monetize eventually. Of course, hobbies are hobbies, like they don't have to be monetized, but if you're trying to make this more of like a revenue stream at some point, I feel like you have to enjoy it. You also have to feel like you're good enough at it to provide something that the market is lacking. And that being said, I mean, there's people who get into very competitive areas all the time and they still succeed, but I think it's easier if you kind of feel like niche down is what they call it. I mean, just with like YouTube alone, I think that's a great place to start for a lot of people, is try to do a YouTube channel. I mean, it's free. You can get started with just your phone, your computer. I mean, pretty much every computer and phone has the option to make videos at this point. So you really don't have like a barrier of entry anymore. I was always the kind of person who made websites, like even back in high school. So I always started with like websites, but that does take a little bit more knowledge. So, I mean, how did you end up on YouTube? Just like just one day decided to go for it?
Yes. Okay. Well, I have a cousin. I always kind of thought about it in the back of my mind. I love education and all that. And I have a cousin who married like this huge YouTube star.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I won't say I don't want to name drop,
You don't
it's
have
like
to.
it's tacky, but she's huge. And I thought,
Wow.
if she did it, I could do it. Like I
Yeah.
just jumped into things and I thought it was going to be a lot easier. I'm like I started in 2019, so I'm a few years in and growth has been very slow. It can be discouraging for me. But now I'm just using this as a hobby. Like at first when I started, I was like, oh,
Right.
I'm going to go all in and
Yeah.
YouTube. I'm going to be like a YouTube content creator full time at creating. And one of my inspirations, I'm sure you've seen her, is a registered nurse RN.
Yeah.
So I was teaching at the time and I was like, I can be the
Right.
Latina registered nurse RN, but it hasn't panned out that way for me.
I feel like she started like really early, you know?
Yeah, she
Like,
started like 8, 10 years ago.
yeah, she's got the first mover advantage. That's always huge too.
But so anybody out there watching, I just want to say that with YouTube, it's some
It's
people,
tricky.
it is. And some people make it right away when they first start and they're just boom, they
Yeah.
skyrocket. It hasn't been that way for me. So it's important to always have plan A, B, C, D. And don't quit your day job for YouTube.
Yeah.
But I
No.
think YouTube is a great vehicle, kind of what you were saying. It's a great vehicle. Now, for example, you have your own YouTube channel, which make sure again you check out David with it's Nurse Janx, right? Your YouTube
Yeah, I have
channel.
Nurse Janx. Yeah.
Okay. Or do you have a different YouTube
We
channel
have Nurse
too?
Tasks now too, but yeah, Nurse Janx is the main channel.
Okay, so check out both of those if you're watching this, and it's a great vehicle because now, see, we're collaborating. You're able to, with your current audience, you can promote your app, which I feel like I have a pretty good eye for things, and your app looks really. You could be like the next tech millionaire,
That would
because
be
like you said, there's. I said it here first, folks. No, it's a really good app. Like sometimes you see things that are created but there's not that much competition. You niche down to an audience, which is nurses, and there's a tremendous need for it. Nurses need organization, and not only that, it's easy to use and it utilizes technology. Like there's so many like PDFs out there. Oh yeah, Mr. Midwife is saying that YouTube is slow going. I got a good push start with our little group, but still slow. It sure is slow.
Yeah.
So there's so many like PDF versions for organization, and I have one that I sell on Etsy. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is a million times better because it has that feature where you can reuse it again. Like you don't have to rewrite everything. And everything is going paperless. Everything is going technology. So you are
Yeah.
definitely like ahead of the curve with the creation of this app. So yeah, kudos
Thank you.
to you and your wife.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I'm definitely, if I ever get back into teaching, I definitely will also share it with my students.
Yeah.
But this is a great tool. I just hope my only thing would be like teachers be receptive to students using their phone and not thinking like, oh, they're just texting. That would be my only thing, that sometimes teachers will be like, oh, they're on their phone, but they're actually
like it's a tool. Yeah.
But I think society's shifting more towards like, oh, they're
Yeah.
on their phone, but they're looking things up, or I just hope sometimes teachers, how they are. Not all teachers are.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that. I feel like my teacher would be cool enough to be like, "What's that? Oh, that's neat." I mean, if it's helping you do your job, it's not like, Instagram scrolling or something.
Yeah, I think like the new generation of teachers are getting better, but there's some
Slow to
older
adopt
generation
technology.
that are, yeah, that still are less receptive to adopting
Yeah.
newer technology. Like there's some that still want you to carry a drug book around,
Really?
versus like, yeah, versus like everything is online now.
I love up to date.
Yes, I love Up to Date. I love Davis also.
Yeah.
So that was all my questions for you. Um, I mean, kudos to you. Congratulations. Any last things that you wanted to bring up before we log off here?
Um, Nothing I can think of off the top of my head. Of course, this is the first time we've ever done this, so
I mean,
still
if you want to,
getting new to it.
if you want to, oh, the other question was,
Yeah.
so there's some people that hate their jobs, that they hate what they're doing, their nursing job, they hate their nurse practitioner job. So are you happy with what you're doing?
Yeah, I haven't probably worked a traditional, like, full-time nursing related job in, I would say at this point, probably 5 years. So I've always been supplementing with, side jobs that are making enough money, and over time, it's trended, like, less and less actual nursing healthcare related work and more, like, side work, which is it's in the same type of field, like healthcare related, but not patient care. And I think a lot of people are burned out with COVID and, anything, even if it's not healthcare, if it's something where you can supplement your income to the point where you can just take a step back. It gives you breathing room. It just gives you more freedom. I mean, you can do both too. That's even better. But for all, like you said, the people who are starting to get burned out, I think it's great to have that side income so that you can step back. There's a lot of freedom that comes with that.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you're feeling discouraged or disheartened because you are unhappy at bedside, or you're unhappy in primary care, working 9 to 5 or Mondays through Friday, there are other options out there. For example, I'm in telemedicine for just privacy reasons. I don't want to disclose the company that I work for, but I love my job. And then David has what he does. Mr. Midwife was on before. He's a nurse practitioner, but he's a midwife. So there's so many options, and you can always reach out to us and ask. No, I won't specifically disclose like the company I work for, but how to get into telemedicine. Or Indeed has hundreds of jobs a week. Sign up for their newsletter. How did you find out about your job, David? Just
I got called by a recruiter. I was originally going to be working in nursing homes, and then COVID came like the week after, like hard. So my nursing
Mhm.
jobs like immediately dried up. But then I got called, and he was explaining a job, and I was looking for a job. So I was like, all right, let's do this. And it ended up being something I liked. And so I stayed with them for a while. I was working with Humana, doing health risk assessments. But now I work with a different company doing the same type of thing, and it's virtual. So that's great.
Did you Mr. Midway said, if I could just figure out how to do a teledelivery.
Good luck.
um, did did the recruiter just randomly call you,
I think
or randomly?
I don't know how it got into me.
Oh,
Honestly, I mean,
okay.
it must have been like through some sort of job board, but I didn't like apply for that job. No, like he just reached out, and I guess he got lucky. Actually, he placed me to the next job too, because the job that I was doing, like we were contracting for the insurance, and then the insurance, I guess, decided to like get rid of us as a contractor. So like nothing personal, it's like the whole company. So then he was like calling everybody who he had placed there, and got them like another job at this other company too. So um, he got some good recruiting fees off of me.
So yeah, so I guess maybe put your information on LinkedIn and a recruiter will
Yeah,
reach out to you.
certainly. Yeah, I
And
mean, glad to.
also network,
Yeah,
network, network, network. I'm not good at networking. The only way I'm good at networking is behind a screen because I'm an introvert. But if you are more extroverted than I am, you can go to like continuing education courses or meetings that within your area of expertise. And this telemedicine position that I got now is because of someone that I knew. like 100%. Yes, I'm qualified, but if it hadn't been for my friend, I probably wouldn't have been considered. So networking is very important as well.
It's huge. Yeah, I agree.
All right, David. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it. I
Yeah,
think
thanks for
you
having me.
have
Fun.
a great app here. It's
Thank you.
excellent. So
Yeah, I hope it goes and does some cool things.
yes, and just keep talking about it. All right, everyone that is watching, make sure you check out Nurse Janx channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment on this video. Thank you.